welcome back everybody to episode 2 of the Chaotic Banter podcast. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about the good, the alright, and the bad about, Star Wars, anything Star Wars, the movies and the TV shows. And I'm here with, you know who he is, Anthony.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Alright, so, we're going to start off with the original trilogy of Star Wars first, so, let's take it over to Anthony. Yeah, do it.
So with the original trilogy, I actually watched it about when I was like in elementary school. I'm not sure what grade it was, but one of my friends, he had some of the movies, so I asked him one day, hey, can I borrow some of these? Because it was around the time when Revenge of the Sith came out, so there was like a lot of buzz, and everyone at school was playing with the toys and everything, and I wanted to know, like, oh man, what, like, this shit seems cool, like, what is this? I was intrigued. So one of my friends, he had all the movies, and I asked him, can I, borrow them and watch them? And he asked his dad. His dad was like, yeah, it's cool. I can't remember exactly which one I saw first, but I do believe that I think it might have been Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But, watching them when I was younger, man, I was immediately drawn into this world of, like, it was just amazing. I had never seen anything like it, It was just awesome, man. Like, different galaxies, different characters, different, like, I had never seen anything like it, And for someone, like, as a kid, you watch all these cartoons and stuff on TV, whenever you're drawn into Star Wars, you're just like, wow, like, But, speaking of the original trilogy, what are some things you like? How did you get introduced to it? Like, how did you get introduced to Star Wars?
Well, I started actually watching Star Wars since when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Family, they showed me the original trilogy. The original trilogy is episode 5 and 6 are kind of like fuzzy a little bit, but episode 4, my God, okay, I've seen that because I had one of my video professors. He's obsessed with Star Wars, so he would always show episode 4, and like my other professors also. So I've seen that movie about 5 times. It's now my least favorite. When I was a kid, don't judge me. When I was a kid, I liked Ewoks, and now that I'm older, I realize how fucking stupid the fucking Ewoks are. So don't blame me. I was little, but then after I watched those movies, I didn't really, because since I was young, I didn't really understand what was going on that well.
Yeah.
And then the prequels came out, and I actually saw all the prequels in theaters every time they came out. My favorite character in all of Star Wars is Darth Maul. Like, Darth Maul, when he came on screen and he had the double lightsabers, I was like, oh shit, this dude is crazy. And then, he got chopped in half, and that was stupid. But, also for episode 2, I like the arena scene with when Mace Windu comes down and he kills a Jango Fett, which I thought was like pretty cool.
I know a lot of people who I actually have a friend. He's not at my job anymore. I used to work with him, but whenever The Last Jedi was going to come out, we were talking about it, excited and everything. And he was telling me a little bit about his background, and he, most people I know that preferred the original trilogy over the prequels, but he was a huge fan of the prequels, and he especially liked Attack of the Clones, which, a lot of people, that's like their least favorite, right? I was like, really? I mean, what do you like about it? And he was like, he'd always say that, like, that scene you were just describing, like, that was his favorite scene. He just thought it was, like, super cool. And my mind about the prequels is a little fuzzy, because it's been a while since I saw those. I just saw the original trilogy the other day once again, but from what I remember, there's a lot going on, but it's pretty damn awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, like, the original trilogy is good. The structure of the story is pretty solid, but it's an older style of filmmaking and storytelling, so there are a lot of flaws with it, especially with how they killed Boba Fett, which I found ridiculous. The fight in episode 4 with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader is a joke. I'm like, the message behind it is meaningful. They never really explained the relationship between Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, and Obi-Wan during that time, so it didn't really have that much weight to it. And also because Luke Skywalker, he kind of knew Obi-Wan, but not really. When he spun when Obi-Wan has his lightsaber and in front of Darth Vader, he does a little fucking spin, And that spin to do shit. Like, Darth Vader just stood there like, okay, are you done? Are you done? Can I kill you now, old man? Like,
Darth Vader just, he's watching this old ass man like, God damn, you suck ass now. What happened to you? Damn.
alright.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that, and you know, sometimes nostalgia gets in the way of this. Some people refuse to admit that, you know, like some of the choreography and whatnot, it's very outdated. You know, they try to say, no, it's good for its time and all that. I'm just like, well, I mean, the movies themselves, to me, they're very, very, they changed the genre, you know, like they opened up a lot of doors to a lot of other movies we see today. Some would like, you know, like for me, the lightsaber choreography, especially in A New Hope, obviously, you know, you can tell it's outdated. It just doesn't, you know, with everything we've seen now and everything, it's just like, yeah, it's not that impressive. But the movies themselves, I thought from a writing perspective, they handled them very well. I don't think George Lucas directed them, did he? It was someone else who directed them, but he was working with them closely. He wrote the story, right?
Yeah.
Because I will say that for me personally, I think the writing in original trilogy, it's vastly superior to that of the prequels. I do think that the prequels, they have excellent ideas. They're just not executed. They're just not executed efficiently. You know what I mean?
Okay, here it is. A New Hope was directed by George Lucas. The Empire Strikes Back by Irvin Kershner, and Return of the Jedi was Richard Marquand. But George Lucas he was always there, you know, of course.
That's the main story, like the story writer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. You know, some people like to say that during the prequels, he had a lot of like yes men, you know, so one thing that was one factor that kind of contributed to kind of like the messy writing aspects of it that people don't like. It didn't flow as well or as cohesively as the original trilogy did, but for all of that though, I do still think like the ideas and the story, the fall, you know, seeing the fall of Anakin, the rise and fall of him into Darth Vader, I mean, I just think it's really awesome. I think it's a really awesome story, and it's definitely inspired, you know, people like you and me and many others in the industry write stories similar to that. Like, you know, it's like a tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, a lot of people complain about the prequels, choreography for fight scenes, but, you know, if you're a real Star Wars fan, you would know that there's multiple styles for Jedis when fighting with a lightsaber. So, shut the fuck up and accept it, because in the comics and the lore of Star Wars, they established that. So you can't really be like, oh, it's so fake, why are they just spinning the lightsabers around? Well, it's usually a way to trick your opponent so they can't guess what you're gonna move and what you're gonna do, and also it's a form of counter.
See, they said that for the you know, in Revenge of the Sith, whenever Palpatine comes in and they're gonna arrest him, and then like there's 3 Jedi, Mace Windu and the other 2, Kit Fisto, I think, and I don't know who the other one is, but you know, he does like this funny, you know, 360 spin, which has become a meme now. You know, people say it's like a different form of fighting. And, that's what I'm talking about. Is like, okay, I understand that, but it just wasn't executed properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I'm not sure if they had extra comics or anything made about Kit Fisto before, like during the prequels or before them, but Kit Fisto in the Clone Wars series, and also in like the comics and everything, like recent ones, not really recent, but he was just badass. Especially in the Clone Wars series, he just bodies everyone in that, like, in those episodes, and he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But having like Jedi Masters get killed so easily from Darth Sidious,
just from one slash.
Yeah,
they didn't even protect themselves. Like, oh, come on, man.
Unrealistic, honestly. But he probably did that before before the characters were actually established and whatnot. So, I guess it's forgivable. I guess.
I guess so. I remember, you didn't. Well, I actually made you watch this. I mean, yeah, I made you watch this shit last time I came down to Italy, you know, to hang out with you. You know, the original Clone Wars, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the 2D animated movie.
And it was actually animated by the same guy who created Samurai Jack.
Yeah, like everybody was overpowered in that movie.
It was crazy, you know. But then, speaking of Clone Wars. I've never seen the I never got around to watching the new one, you know, like the new series.
No, like the one that was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, like the one with the kind of
3D animation. That show is so good. Like, it's been said a lot too, but also if you're one of those Star Wars fans that doesn't like the prequels or the characters, especially Anakin, if you watch the Clone Wars series, you'll end up loving Anakin because, and also like Obi-Wan, he's such a smartass in that show. It's great. Watching the Clone Wars series, you will love every character because they have their own like stories and like their own journeys in the show, and they really just like stretch out their characterized blah blah blah. Let me reset that. They really like stretch out the character, and you actually see their flaws and powerful they really are. But they have a few episodes with focusing on just Yoda with a squad of clones, and you also see a lot of perspectives of the clones in that show. They're not just bodies set out to war. They actually have emotions and they think for themselves too. But that show is honestly what I consider Star Wars, really, because the way it builds the lore of the galaxy is tremendous. Because you go to multiple planets, there are multiple characters that all the events take place and connect to each other, and then especially with the season, I don't remember which season it is, but they bring back Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Everybody was blown away when we saw the teaser trailer and Darth Maul pops up fighting Obi-Wan, and everyone was just going crazy during that time.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely, like, as someone who hasn't seen it, I've heard a lot of those things. I've heard people say that, oh, if you weren't a fan of the prequels, this show really helps fill in the gaps, for certain characters, and it really helps develop a lot of character development for a lot of different people that we see briefly in the prequel trilogy and whatnot. And that's I definitely want to watch it. I just got to get around to it because it's with me, when it comes to watching long shows, I often like to binge watch them, or I'll stop, or I stop in the middle, and I hate when I do that, so I definitely got to find the time to watch it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of those things, especially with Darth Maul. I've heard that show made him people already thought he was cool. It's kind of like the Boba Fett effect, like he's a cool dude, but he didn't really do much in the movies, we just saw him, he's just like cool, with the lightsaber and whatnot, like he's a cool Sith, But I heard that in the show, it actually made him even more likable and even made him a fan favorite just because of the amount of development they introduced to his character.
Yeah, especially they actually show how powerful he is. He was the apprentice to Darth Sidious, and he just got killed by a Padawan in episode 1, but in the show of Clone Wars, it actually shows how powerful he is and what how he actually, because Darth Maul, he uses more hand-to-hand combat than lightsabers. He's really good with lightsaber, but he's more hand-to-hand combat because he was an assassin. But they really show the audience how he is in the show. But also because since the Clone Wars is between episode 2 and 3, it blends in with the movies really well too. And it sucked that they had to cancel it, but the Clone Wars, because of George Lucas selling it off to Disney. But then they made Star Wars Rebels, which is another 3D animated series, which kind of continues off with the Clone Wars. It's between episode 3 and 4.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say I heard that show actually paled in comparison at the beginning, but as it moved on, it gradually got better and better.
Yeah, it's still the same creator from the Clone Wars. It's the same team.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know why they changed the style, the animated, the art style for some reason. It looked kind of janky a little bit, and they made the lightsabers really thin.
To me, it just looked more childish, and that was kind of a turn off. And obviously Disney, so I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this, But I heard it's actually pretty.
Because the Clone Wars, it was actually pretty graphic. There, you would actually see lightsabers getting stabbed into people, and then you would have clones. You would see them get shot in the head. But in the Rebels, you don't really see them actually getting injured, or killed directly. But the first 2 seasons are pretty whack.
Did you watch them?
Yeah, I watched all of them, all the episodes. But
how'd you feel about
when the characters get? Huh?
I'm sorry. How did you feel about the? I guess the story kind of focuses on 2. There's 2. I guess it
focuses on Ezra and Kanan and their group.
Yeah. How do you feel about Ezra and Kanan? Because see, as someone who's never seen it, See, like I've seen clips from the Clone Wars, like the whole Darth Maul thing and everything. Whenever I heard about that, I was really intrigued. So actually, I went on YouTube and watched some of the clips.
Yeah.
And I kind of did the same whenever I heard that Darth Vader appeared in Rebels. I was like, whoa, are you serious? So
Yeah.
So I went to go watch it, but I was kind of disappointed because I was like, see, I know nothing about these characters, so I can't really judge it, from an outsider's perspective, like just from what I'm seeing, So what I saw was Darth Vader. It just, I don't know why he let them live, or I don't know if it was their first encounter, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, it actually explains that, but it did really well because everyone was asking, like, I'm gonna go back to the Clone Wars with when they introduces Anakin's Padawan Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, wait, where was Ahsoka in the original, like in like the prequels and everything? But they did a really well tie-in with explaining why she doesn't show up in Episode 3.
Oh yeah.
And then when she comes back in Rebels, it's pretty well done, I have to say. And also when they have like Darth Vader come in, it was crazy because they show like really how powerful he is, just like how they do in the end of Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Rebels gets really good once the characters get older, and the show gets kind of more serious. And they also explain everything that happened with the Mandalorians. They have more Mandalorian lore, and you learn a lot about how, well, in the Clone Wars and everything too, you learn a lot about the other like races in the universe. But they focus a lot on Mandalorians. I thought it was pretty good. Ezra is kind of fucking annoying, but he ended up training with Darth Maul because Darth Maul came back in the show also.
Who did? Who trained with him?
Darth Maul.
Okay, damn.
Also, when Darth Maul comes back in Rebels, you also expect to see Obi-Wan, and you do. So you got to see their final standoff and everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, the show it's lacking in like a lot of areas, but later in the season it gets really good, and you learn a lot about the lore of like how the Force works, and you actually find out other objectives that Darth Sidious had in those shows too. It wasn't just, oh, let's take over the Republic and create just the Empire and everything like that. No, they actually explain a lot of his other objectives in the show.
Yeah, that's one thing I always that I appreciated from shows like that and from the comics and whatnot. And the they call it Legends now, because it's non-canon, but that's one thing I always appreciated was just like they made characters like Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Darth Sidious. They made them like feel powerful because in the movies you got that they were like a looming dark presence, that no one could fuck with, but you never got to see the full display of their powers. And then like I feel like in all the extra material that we got after the movies and in between the movies,
yeah,
it really does a good job of showcasing that like how powerful they really are. If I'm not mistaken, isn't there an episode where Palpatine comes back and like he tries to kill Darth Maul? And he's like flinging him off walls
like
and shit?
torching him. Yeah, he's pretty much punishing Darth Maul for going, because Darth Maul was trying to create his own army against Darth Sidious, like his hidden organization. And Sidious figures this out, and he's like, well, fuck you, you were my puppet, and I'm gonna put you in your place, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And after that episode, you don't know what happens to Darth Maul until Rebels. Then you find out that, oh shit, he's still alive.
Wow. So people just suspected that he got killed or something?
Yeah, or he just was like imprisoned or something. Nobody really knew exactly what happened to him. And then when they brought him back and he was training Ezra, he was pretty much like showing him like the dark side of the Force and everything. So that was pretty interesting how they did that. And they expanded more on the dark side of the Force and everything too.
That seems really intriguing. I know earlier I was asking you about that scene, I guess, where Ezra and is it Kane fighting
Kanan?
Kanan, yeah. They're fighting Darth Vader. I don't know if it's their first encounter in the show or whatnot, but I think ATT Walker, it lands on Darth Vader and then he like lifts it up with one hand. I thought that shit was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was the first encounter. He literally just lifted it up like it was nothing. It was like, oh shit. Like, you guys are gonna die.
That's something I always wanted to see in the movies, was like one of them just use the Force and lift up an AT-AT Walker, like just like, that's what I thought we were gonna get in The Last Jedi, but we'll get to that eventually.
I just realized, like, after we're telling all these people like to watch the show, we're spoiling the hell out of it.
We're spoiling
But honestly, like, it doesn't really matter, because that show, you kind of already know what happens to the characters anyway, because the whole like the movies and everything. But they still come off. It's still really, like, the storytelling is phenomenal, and I just love the Clone Wars. that's pretty much what helped a lot of fans get back into the series, because everyone was like, oh, the Clone Wars is coming out on Cartoon Network. They thought it was going to be a dumb show, but it turned out to be like really good. One thing I really want to see is, I know like in Rebels, they're actually bringing back certain characters from Legends.
Really?
Like Admiral Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was in Star Wars Legends, and when they brought him into the show, everyone was like really surprised. One thing that I don't understand what Disney did was, I understand making like Legends or like everything after episode 7. No, what the fuck am I saying? After episode 6, they made everything a non-canon, but I don't understand why they made Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic not canon anymore at all, which doesn't make any sense to me. Because I know Darth Bane, he's canon. Yeah. Because they also have him show up in the Clone Wars, like his ghost. But honestly, I don't understand why they deleted Knights of the Old Republic and everything about that and the lore from there, because it doesn't really conflict with the movies or anything like that.
I definitely agree with you, because I've heard that complaint a lot, and I agree with it. Is you know, I can understand them. Okay, I can understand them maybe scrapping off some of the you know, after the old trilogy, because you know, they had plans for a new trilogy and whatnot. So yeah, you know, they didn't want to get things mixed up, and I mean, obviously it's a lot of canon source material, so I can understand them maybe like retconning or, you know, disposing of the all that. But everything that came in the Old Republic, you know, it's just so, like, for me, it's so damn good, so intriguing. That's probably stuff that either will never get touched on or doesn't really get mentioned in the movies, you know. So when they got rid of that as well, I was like, are you serious? You're gonna get rid of all the old Sith and all the old mythology? Like, to me, that was just like a big, you know, like a big F you to the fans, like to the because it was just like, yeah, we're not gonna do our homework. We're not gonna specifically choose what's canon and what's not. We're just gonna go ahead and take everything out, and whenever we feel like introducing something that's, you know, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do that. And, you know, to me, that was just like, I mean, it just really upset me as a Star Wars fan, because I'm a really huge fan of the Old Republic, of some of the games, and spent lots of hours, you know, looking up a lot of the lore and everything, and to find out one day that it's not canon anymore. It's just kind of like, okay, you know? Yeah, like, it was so dumb, because, like, also with Darth Revan, his story, it's really, like, confusing and complex, but it really showed the struggle between the dark and light side of the Force. And it really explains a lot of the ideology of Siths in general and the Jedi. Like, the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic, it shows how the Jedi aren't actually that good. Like, it does it in another perspective where it kind of puts where the Jedi are kind of taking over the universe, and they kind of just kill off, like, the Sith and their whole ideology and everything. It really, like, it has a nice contrast of what they really are. And I know they also had a thing where they had the Grey Jedi, which are the ones that embrace both sides of the Force, which a lot of people, when that was canon, a lot of people didn't even see that as canon also, because they're like, no, fuck that, because I don't know, they're hating. But yeah, just if they honestly just made movies, like started a new trilogy or whatever, just on the Old Republic, it would do really well, honestly. I mean, if you're already, you know, I think that if they're already making, like, you know, with the Solo film and the Rogue One, they're making those, you know, I mean, if they're already making those kinds of films, why don't they just go back to the, you know, why don't they just go back to the Old Republic and explain what happened? You know, I think that with the prequel backlash, I think they might have been like, they thought it was too risky to make that move, but at the same time, you're literally making a Solo film that nobody asked for, and it doesn't contribute to the story whatsoever. Yeah, you know, Rogue One did, with the plans to you know, to steal the plans from the Death Star and everything. You know, I thought that was it went in pretty well with the you know, with the movies and whatnot. If you're already gonna, you know, go that route, why not just make an Old Republic film? Which I'm not sure who I've heard it from, but I mean, I heard somebody say that, you know, that's probably never gonna happen. It's just it's disappointing, because there's just so much rich lore that you can play around with. There's so many interesting characters, and honestly, time and time again, I've heard a lot of Star Wars fans, and like you and me say time and time again that, man, I would love to see an Old Republic film, especially what was that video game you showed me where it was Knights of the Old Republic? Knights of the Old Republic, yeah. The cinematic trailers are so good. They are so good, so damn good. If they could just go along with something like that, and, you know, put the time and money and, you know, hire a good director to make something like that, I mean, everybody would lose their shit, and they would be there, you know, they could, you know. But now that we're actually talking about, you know, Disney and Star Wars and whatnot, why don't we start talking a little bit about the new trilogy and everything? And I guess we can start with The Force Awakens.
Okay. All right, okay. Force Awakens was, you know, it's pretty good. It's like average. It's like, oh, Star Wars is back. I had a great time watching it. Me and Anthony, we were also with one of our other friends, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
When the movie, we watched the movie a week after it released.
Yeah.
Because we all didn't have time to watch it.
We were really, yeah, like one of us, I remember, you know, when two of us wouldn't be working, the other one would, and we'd all be pissed. But finally, me and Jordan just went to the mall, and literally we showed up to this dude's job. We're like, nah, fuck it. It's been over a week. We're watching this damn movie. We're bringing you with us. You're like, all right, damn, jeez.
Yeah, like they would always come into my job, like at like fucking 7 o'clock at PM. I don't know why. They would always show up at my fucking job, and then they'd be like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to work. Get the fuck out.
And then like all the people you worked with, they'd give us dirty looks. Like, are these damn kids gonna steal something?
Yeah. But like, yeah, I was just like I was pretending to fold shit because fuck that. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to do that shit. But they came up to like, hey bro, guess what? I was like, what? He's like, we're gonna watch the new Star Wars. I was like, oh, well. Hell yeah.
It was really it was really cool.
Also the reason
oh, sorry.
Bitch, I'm trying to tell the story, alright?
Hold on,
interrupt me right now?
I'm just saying it was a really cool experience because, you know, we had the theater. We literally had the theater to ourselves that day. It was just us three in the entire damn theater.
But also, like, another reason why it was empty is because in that town we used to live in, I used to live with Anthony in Lawton, Oklahoma. That place sucks. But yeah, they ended up building an IMAX theater, which is awesome. So everyone's going to that theater watching the new movie.
We also had a Carmike, a smaller Carmike theater, you know, that's, you know, prior to the IMAX, that's where everyone would go. So the mall, you know, the mall theater, that was like the last resort. Like, not a lot of people went there. And
yeah, and it was a lot cheaper too. It was only $5 for a ticket.
Exactly, it really was. And you know, I'm sure with Star Wars, everybody wants to like enjoy the cinematic experience, watch it in the big theater. So I don't know, I think luck just played in our hands that day, you know. We were able to have the entire theater to ourselves, and I think that just added to the experience of, you know, watching The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's what made it a lot better. Because I ended up watching the movie again in the IMAX with my parents. It was amazing in the IMAX, but like the sound and the quality of the video itself. But when I was watching it, I noticed a lot of plot holes and things that just didn't make sense.
Really?
Because I was like, oh, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like with fucking Rey, the Mary Sue of the Mary Sue. That's all she is. Yeah, but before I end up going crazy and angry, let me go over to Anthony.
Okay, trust me, we'll get there. But The Force Awakens, you know, J.J. Abrams, obviously he's one of Steven Spielberg's Dark Order, like his children.
Oh my fucking god.
But all right. So yeah, so with The Force Awakens, you know, obviously Steven. Okay, goddamn it, I already fucked up.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so with the Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams, he came in to direct it, and, you know, being a student of Steven Spielberg's work, you really see that a lot. You really see it a lot in the movie, and I think he did a fabulous, incredible job with it. I think the goal he was aiming for was because I've heard him say it before in interviews, is he was trying to basically rekindle that spark of Star Wars. Like, he wanted it to be nostalgic. He wanted to play with a lot of the same elements that we saw in the, you know, like in the original films, to give us like that, you know, like that, since it had been so long, you know, he wanted to give us that sense of nostalgia, like that sense of, you know, whoa, like, you know, which I think is good, you know, especially when you're introducing a new chapter, you know, the first entry in a trilogy. I don't have anything against that. Some people were like, this is too similar to this is too similar to that, and, you know, I kind of agree with them on some certain aspects, but I think for the first film, I don't really like disagree with it, think it's all that bad, because obviously he was trying to recapture that, you know, like recapture that magic.
Yeah, and they took the safe route. It's been years since we have a Star Wars film, and they were playing it safe so that fans wouldn't get.
They didn't want to try anything new. Yeah, they didn't want to try anything new or too drastic, kind of like what the Phantom Menace was, you know, in some regards. Like, they didn't want to try anything new or drastic. They wanted to keep it in the same playing field as A New Hope. They wanted to use a lot of the same elements, a lot of the same plot points and whatnot, but there were times where obviously once you get introduced to the characters and stuff, it starts doing new things that we haven't seen. For us, obviously, like, we hadn't seen Star Wars in quite a long time, and for me, I never got to experience Star Wars in theaters. My family, they weren't big fans of it. They didn't really only I knew about it. So, I never got to go to the theaters and watch it when I was younger. So, it was like my first Star Wars movie. I was anticipating it a lot. I had huge expectations, and I do think it fulfilled them. I think it was really awesome. I thought it was like the cinematography and the sound and all that. The sound, it was very, very good. Like you said, on second viewing and third viewing and whatnot, you start to see a lot of plot holes. Not too many, I'll say, but you do see some ones that are just like okay, it kind of loses its once you get over the nostalgia, you're just like, questionable scenes in this movie. But let's go ahead and talk about some of those. So what do you think, man?
Most of it's just with Rey and how her powers just suddenly come up really easily, and she's able to I can get away with her controlling the mind of the clone that helped her escape. But the stormtrooper helped her escape. But her fighting Kylo, it was kind of bullshit. Like, I understood he got hurt, but before she got captured, he literally just stopped her in her tracks with the Force. He just made her stay still, and then she couldn't move. But then when he's fighting her in the forest, he kind of like beats her up a little bit. Then he goes over to Finn, slashes his back, and then Rey just takes a lightsaber, and she ends up having an actual fight with him. I'm like, fighting, I know she has trained, like, kind of not really training in fighting, but she used like a bow staff versus a sword. That those are completely two different weapons and different styles of fighting. It doesn't make any sense.
We're judging the movie solely on its only solely on that movie. We're not with The Last Jedi in mind or anything like that. So, like, just to drift away just for a second, this is gonna piss you off really bad, but they actually in the book that was released, they actually tried to explain why she beat him in that fight, and the reason they give is just, to me, it's fucking stupid, man. It's just, what they say happened? They say that, remember the scene where Kylo's probing her mind, I guess? Yeah. She says that in that moment, supposedly, I don't know how to better describe it, but she basically downloaded all his fighting style and everything in her head. What the yeah, it's
what the fuck? Is he a fucking computer, goddamn? Like, is he a goddamn USB? Like, I don't understand. That's fucking stupid. You can't. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna get into that, but that's complete utter bullshit.
It was pretty bullshit. But another thing that I also didn't like from The Force Awakens that happened, and J.J. Abrams actually came out and said that he overlooked this, that he agreed. He's like, oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's on me. Whenever Harrison Ford dies and they're coming back, and Leia, she sees Rey and Chewie, and she automatically like goes past Chewie to hug Rey, and I'm just like, well, me and everyone else noticed this. We were just like, wait, so you're telling me that instead of hugging Chewie, you're gonna hug this girl that has been like in your fucking, like, you've known her for a few hours, and that's the person you're gonna go and hug?
Yeah, it was stupid. Like, they only met Han and Chewie a few days ago, like a few days before he died, and it's just, it's like unrealistic, honestly, because you'll care about someone's death, but with Leia and Chewie, they go back years, and it just doesn't make sense to me. To me, and I'll give The Force Awakens this. There weren't a lot of moments where it made you like, it slapped you in the face like, oh, these are our new characters, the new main protagonists. You have to like them. For me, there weren't a lot of moments like that, but that moment right there, it did feel very, it did feel like that. It felt like, this is like who you should care about or whatever. And I was just like, no, like, you're not gonna hug your husband's best friend. Like, what the, that right there to kind of piss me off, but. Like I said, J.J. Abrams came out and apologized for it. He actually took responsibility. He was like, yeah, I just overlooked that, and yeah,
like that,
he actually knows how to take responsibility, unlike fucking dumbass Ryan Johnson. But before we get to that movie, let's go to Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
To me, Rogue One was okay. It was directed by Gareth Edwards,
the Godzilla director, which
yeah, exactly. And Rogue One is the story. The story is, I like the story, but I didn't give two shits about any of the characters in that movie. They felt so bland and empty to me. The only character I liked in that movie was the Imperial droid, because he was actually really funny and he was actually pretty cool. But other than that, like, if your droid is the best character who has more human emotions than actual humans, there's something wrong.
How the fuck does a droid have more fucking he has better feeling, he has more feelings than a damn human.
I know, like, it's just like everybody is so one-dimensional in that film. It's just, I knew, like, I already got spoiled beforehand in the movie where I knew they're gonna die, but when I was watching the movie, I was like, yo, I can't wait till they fucking die.
I didn't see Rogue One with you. I think you were already gone by that time, weren't you?
Yeah. I saw it over here on my own.
Okay, yeah, I saw it with one of my friends, and we went to the IMAX premiere, and we sat in the very front, and he's not as big of a Star Wars fan as we are, but he's seen all the movies and whatnot, and he likes them. So we watched it and whatnot, and it was really enjoyable. I will say that Gareth Edwards and his cinematography is very apparent in this movie. You can see his signature, like, it's very similar to Godzilla in the way that it's like kind of dark, dark grayer colors, but I don't know, I really like that. But I think from a production standpoint, it was handled really well, like the sound and everything. I thought it was really well made, but like you said, as far as characters go, to me, they were very wooden, very one-dimensional. It felt like just because they're the protagonist or the hero of the story, you have to root for them, but you're not giving me anything to root for them,
Yeah, there's nothing grabbing on. There's no hook.
Yeah, there's nothing there to, I don't know, it just felt like a skeleton of they all felt like skeletons of a character, like there's no meat there to grab onto. I don't know, like you just didn't give a fuck. When they were all dying, I was just like, okay, that's what they're gonna do to serve the stories. They're all gonna die one by one.
Yeah.
The story itself, I thought it was a really good prequel to A New Hope. I thought it was pretty cohesive in the way that it fit into the story.
Yeah.
Like you said, the characters, man. I mean, when the droid's your best character, when he died, I actually was like, damn it.
Yeah, I was sad. I was like, yo, he went out like a G though, killing everybody, and then he died. I was like, damn, dude. Why him?
Exactly.
But with everyone else, it was just like, and I know that you, Kevin especially, he hated the scene at the end where they, like, I guess, did they kiss each other?
They kissed. I think they hugged or kissed, or I don't know. It felt kind of forced how they were trying to kind of get them together. I was like, this is fucking dumb.
One thing I didn't understand was, I think that guy, he was an assassin or something, right? And then, like,
he was a bounty hunter or like a... Yeah, I think he was like a bounty hunter.
He was supposed to assassinate her father, I believe, in the movie.
Yeah, he was supposed to kill her father.
And then he decides not to. But I'm like, at that point, they had barely known each other. I mean,
yeah, like it worked out in the end because he shared like more information.
Yeah,
helped them out. But at the same time, it was just like, dude, you don't even know this girl. You're just trying to bang her.
Dude,
you're really kill her father.
He was really just trying to bone her. So I mean, that's all it was to it. This dude was really horny. He said, "Fuck the money.
I'm gonna get the money and the girl.
I'm gonna get the money and I'm gonna get that punana."
Oh my god.
It was just but yeah. So Rogue One for me was it was just an okay movie. It was average. There wasn't anything that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And now that brings us to The Last Jedi. Now, I will
Kennedy's
say,
movie.
Kathleen Kennedy's movie. Yeah, I will say before we start The Last Jedi, I do think that before we start, I just want to say this movie was written and directed by Rian Johnson. So I do believe that a lot of the blame he gets is rightly deserved. Yeah. Especially for a lot of reasons that we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah, we know we're about to rip him a new asshole. That's what we're about to do right now.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking rip him a new asshole in a galaxy far, far away. So let's start with so I was actually visiting Kevin Italy this past December whenever it came out. And we went over to where his parents live, which is was it Verona?
It was Vicenza.
So, I'm excited, I'm with him and his family. We're getting ready to watch The Last Jedi, because at this point, it's basically become a tradition. Like, me and him, we always go see the new movies together, So, it was really cool that I could be back with my best friend, checking this out. So, we were really excited. And obviously, the 2 years building up to this movie, you know, all the fan theories about who's Snoke, what's Kylo gonna do. Then the trailer comes out.
Who are Rey's parents?
Rey, or is she gonna turn to the dark side? Like, there was so much anticipation, and I think that's mainly because, like we said earlier, The Force Awakens, there were some what the F moments, like, you know, how Rey beat Han and all that. But to me, I forgave it just because I was like, huh?
How Rey beat Kylo, not Han. You fucked up.
His fucking son.
Yeah. Okay, his son. Okay.
God damn it. Can you cut that out, headass? But nah, like, a lot of the questionable moments in The Force Awakens, I was just like, me and a lot of other fans forgave it just because we were like, okay, they're gonna explain it in the next movie. They're gonna explain a lot of these plot threads. A lot of these plot threads that J.J. Abrams set up, they're gonna explain in the next film, which is what everyone was hoping for, which is why we had all the theories, etc. So going into this movie, we had a lot of anticipation, and it's funny because to ask for his initial reaction, we basically both had the same initial reaction, and
like, after the movie, we both walked out and we were like, what the fuck? And then no, we were like, what the fuck? And then, like, my dad comes out and he's all calm. He's like, that sucked ass.
You know, his dad always watches his dad watches all the Star Wars movies, but he's very unbiased. Like, you know, like he's unbiased. You know.
Yeah, my dad, he looks at movies just as like movies.
Exactly.
So he walked out and he was like, well, that sucked ass. And then me and Anthony, we just died laughing. It's like, well, he's not wrong.
It's funny because, I guess that whenever it appeared in Italy, I think it was like maybe a day or two after it had appeared in the United States. I'm not sure. But
yeah.
Right before we left the house to go to the theater, we had seen some things online about how it was divisive, how it had split fans down the middle, how people didn't like it and something like that. And, you know, I've never been a person who likes to listen to others critique movies and whatnot. I mean, I like to listen to reviews and whatnot, but I like to formulate my own opinion based on what I have, and then obviously listen to others, see if they share the same things, or maybe they point out things I didn't notice before. So, you know, me and him were like, oh, okay, whatever, they're just fucking hating, but let's just go see it for ourselves first before we you know, read any spoilers or see what all the fuss is about. And as soon as we left that theater, we were both like, what the fuck? Okay, I understand now. Like, they were right. Like, I understand exactly. Oh, man.
Like, it was just the last 10 minutes of the film that just fucked everything even more. It was like the last 20 minutes. Let's say 20 minutes of the film where everything just went like to shit. It's like, okay, I know the process of Rian Johnson writing the script, there was information out that he actually wrote it before The Force Awakens was actually done. So J.J. Abrams didn't really he gave him like some information on how The Force Awakens was, but he's writing a script for a movie that hasn't even been finished. That's a slight pass, but the way Rian Johnson just took it, like, he tried to be so against the fans throughout the whole production. It was just like he didn't give a fuck about anything or about like the franchise or anything, and he completely threw all the questions that J.J. Abrams made. He just threw them out of the fucking door. Like, he's like, I don't give a fuck about this. I don't want to write about it. Throw it away. Like, especially with Snoke, where everyone's like, oh, who's Snoke? How did he get this army? How is he so powerful with the Force? Who are the Knights of Ren and all this? And he just killed them off like it was nothing.
The Knights of Ren weren't even mentioned in the movie, dude.
Yeah, I know. They just like disappeared.
Remember that Force vision that they had in the Force Awakens, where she's surrounded by the Knights and Kylo Ren?
Remember? And then they also see she sees her parents leaving her, and that's a very like important scene in the Last Jedi. It was just like casual. Kylo Ren's just like, oh yeah, your parents are fucking nobody. I'm fine with that answer, but it wasn't like. It was just, he just said it like it meant nothing. If she actually went out and discovered it herself, I would accept it. But the way he just said it, he's like, oh yeah, they're nobody. They didn't give a fuck about you. Sorry. Yeah. It's just like, really? That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to go about it.
It was you know, it was just really stupid. I'm all for directors, especially in film, you know, showing their artistic creativity in films, you know. Like, I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan, you know, but whenever that whole scene where she went into the black, I guess like the black hole or whatever on the part of the island, and like that moment really confused me, especially looking back on it now, because you see like there's like it was just really like I could tell he was trying to make it really artsy and whatnot. But then it all leads up to no fucking, oh, she's staring at herself in the mirror, so I don't know.
And just like, especially having that scene where you're like, oh, who are her parents? And then with the anticlimactic answer, the way it was delivered too, it was just like, come on, man. And then also the fight scene with the I don't know what they're called, like the Imperial Guards that about Snoke, where they mention also, like, in the film, I don't know if it's a film, but I know I've heard also from other Star Wars fans that know a lot more than I do. They said that those guards can easily 1v1 Kylo.
Really?
But, yeah, that they said that they're pretty strong, but Rey, who had pretty much no fucking training, trained her for like a day or two, but not really.
That was, we'll get to that here in a second.
And she was taking on, like, 3 at once. Or like 2 at once. I'm like, what the fuck? She's literally killing them, and she has no fucking prior training, like no actual training, and she's able to just kill them. It's just, it just doesn't. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
I did like how they both worked together in that scene. That is one thing I'll give them credit for.
It was a beautiful scene, but
I did like the way they worked together, and he did build her ass out, I think, in some parts, because they were getting ready to kill her, and then he like would shove the lightsaber through his head or whatever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is because you saw him struggling. I mean, they had him in a headlock, and if you have a damn Sith apprentice over here struggling, how the hell is someone who's never been trained into life? And that's one of the biggest things. This movie supposedly takes place hours after The Force Awakens. How the hell does somebody who's never been trained before, because we all thought originally that this movie on the island, Luke was gonna train her.
Yeah, I think it was only like a few days, because I also know like the whole there are different planets. There's like the how time is like relative and everything. So, but honestly, Rey was mainly just training by herself majority of the time on that planet, and Luke only trains her for like a day or two. And it's just, I don't know, it didn't make sense. And then also with the whole what the fuck is that freaking pink-haired bitch called, the purple-haired girl?
Admiral.
Whatever her crap name is. How all she had to do, what like an actual leader would do, all she had to do was tell everybody on the ship her plan. But no, nobody knows the plan, and then Poe has this stupid fucking plan. No, it's not stupid, but it's like, what happens is really dumb, where he like, there's like a resistance, he creates a freaking, coup d'etat or some shit, and they try to overthrow the ship. Everything could have been avoided, the whole thing. Also with like Finn and that Rose girl going to that planet that was completely pointless. All she had to do was tell them. All she had to do was just be straight up and be like, "Hey, this is the plan. We're gonna go into the pods and fly to the nearest planet. There's a base there, and we're fine." But no. She decided to just keep it under wraps, and all this shit happened. And I don't know,
Rian Johnson's goal was clearly to subvert expectations, and that's the thing about this movie, is that the spaceship, the whole spaceship chase, it leads to nothing. The whole finding Luke on the island to train leads to nothing. The whole going to the casino planet leads to nothing. The whole finding the dude from the casino planet when he just betrays them, that leads to nothing. The whole
that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, all she had to do was tell them the plan, and they all would have lived. The guy would have never betrayed them. They would have never known that they have the pods going to the planet. Nobody would have died. That's all they had to do.
It just felt like something that should have been 20 minutes in the movie was dragged out to like 2.5 hours. It was really ridiculous. And let's talk about some since we're talking about Admiral Holdo or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some character motivations in that movie. I thought that her development and everything, it just seemed really fucking dumb, man. It was just so wishy-washy. And then I remember whenever she says, take him away or whatever, I remember your sister next to us, she's also very unbiased, but she's seen a lot of the films. She was like, that bitch.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed out loud. At the end, and then at the end, I guess whenever Leia comes back, we gotta talk about Leia, but whenever Leia comes back, like, they're holding hands, and then like, it's like it just felt like it was supposed to be like a happy moment or something, and then like, we're like suddenly told like, oh wait, so she was right and we were wrong. It's, what the fuck, man? Like,
it was stupid. And like, also I remember another part, like my sister, she was just saying like some funny ass shit throughout the whole movie. Like when she saves Finn and she like kisses him, my sister's like, ugh, gross. She's like, ew, like what the hell? Also with Rose is a pointless character. She should have never been in the fucking movie. Finn would have had a pretty like awesome, like pretty cool tragic death, but she confesses her love even though she was only with him for like a day.
Save those who love, or whatever bullshit they said. And then, God, there's so many plot holes in that movie. One of the plot holes, to me, is how the hell did they go all the way out there, miles away from the base, then somehow in a few scenes later they're back? You're telling me that they just like walked or ran all the way back there and not a single not one of the single fighters that were out there or whatever, no one decided to shoot at them.
Yeah,
it just makes no sense.
Yeah. Also, like I know, like also with the whole chase, like the chase at the ship when they're trying to use like the fuel or whatever, they could have just had a whole freaking like swarm of TIE fighters just end the ship like in an instant, but no, they didn't do that. They still didn't explain how. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they never explained how Rey and Chewbacca knew where they were, like where all the rebels were. Like the Millennium Falcon just pops up.
Yeah, that's another thing. It just pops up at the end of the day and she's saving the day. When the hell did she become such a good pilot?
I don't know. I remember in the Force Awakens she said that she had some piloting experience. But I don't know how they really explain how she does it. I don't know. But
it was just really I don't know, it was just really like she's doing everything. She's
just like good at everything.
She's good at everything, and you know, people complain that Luke was the same way in the original trilogy, but he went through his trials and tribulations. He struggled, you know. He got his ass handed to him. Yeah, he got his ass handed to him by Darth Vader. And you know, it just kept happening. Even at the end, I mean, you know, now Rey, I mean, even starting from the Force Awakens, she's just really, I mean, you can't doubt it. She's a fucking Mary Sue. I mean, there's just nothing, you know?
Yeah, like she doesn't go through anything.
Doesn't go through any hardships. She doesn't, the one thing that she was going through, which was like, you know, who are her parents, you know, the thing she was struggling with. Suddenly we figure out her parents are nobody. And then it's just kind of like, okay, so even that now, like, she just...
How they changed Luke's character to where he was willing to kill his nephew because he saw visions of him being evil completely contradicts with everything that happened in episode 6 when he, the most, like, evil man in the galaxy, he believed that there was still some good in him, and he talked it out. He honestly threw his lightsaber to the ground and talked it out with Darth Vader. But instead of like talking it out with freaking Kylo, with Ben Solo, he first reaction he does is take his lightsaber out. He ends up doubting himself, but still it's like, dude, before you went through that whole thing, you should have just talked to him. And then also they like say how Snoke is so powerful that he was getting into the mind of Ben Solo, but it's like, but who the fuck is Snoke? Like, who is this dude? They just
It was just a lot of exposition to me because, and you know, in that scene, whenever like they're saying, so I guess all it took was Luke trying to kill Kylo. That Kylo, like, I guess after that he burned the academy, and he I guess he killed some of the other students, but he took some of the other students with him, and
then they became the Knights of Ren.
It's just really damn horseshoed in. It's not. I remember, dude. Me and you, we had been looking. I remember in that scene, whenever it first happens, we're like, oh, this is the flashback. Like, oh, we're gonna get to see. Literally, it happened just like that, and we were like, is that it? Are you serious? Out of all the things you could have taken the time with in this movie, you decide to choose a fucking casino planet over actually explaining something that's, you know, like.
Yeah, I know, all just to get your fucking political views out there and everything like that. It's just a fucking mess. It doesn't make any sense. So many plot holes. And like the way Luke died, even in the theater, everybody was like, what? Like, I remember hearing people be like, in the back being like, what? Like, did that just happen?
I thought it was funny because I think the fight between him and Kylo, you know, it wasn't really a fight because he was dodging, but I still thought it was like pretty cool, especially how like he doesn't move the sand with his feet, so that's kind of foreshadowing that he's not really there.
Yeah,
that happened. He bought them time. He did what he had to do. Then he disappeared, and he struck him down, and then like, you know, so everyone's like, wow. And then like, you know, it goes back to his shot of him looking at the two suns, and you know, we're like, oh, like, you know, at that point we're like wow, like he did that, but then he just disappears, and we're just like, wait a second, what?
He actually went there and sacrificed himself, like in person. Like if he did something really fucking like cool against all the TIE fight, all the walkers and AT-ATs that were there, it would have been way better. But he honestly just drained his fucking stamina out and just disappeared.
I would have liked him, because you saw there was a little clip, it was really quick, but you saw his TIE fighter was in the water, just like in the original trilogy. If he would have pulled that out and flown there and just like showed up as a badass destroying all the ships, I would have taken that over fucking Rey showing up out of nowhere with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I know. And also, like, he didn't even need to die. Like, he did not need to die.
He did not.
Because he used a lot of energy, but he could have just passed out. He could have still lived and then came back in the final movie, and he could have died there. But like Rian Johnson was pretty much like, oh, I'm just gonna make your character die here. All right, is that fine? Oh, you don't like it? Too bad. It's just like it didn't. There was no purpose for it.
You know, they removed Colin Trevorrow. I think he was the original director of the next episode that we're gonna get, and I think that, I don't know if he was the original. He was supposed to direct episode 9 or episode 8, but I just know that he had plans for Luke. He wanted to use Luke, and you know, he wanted to use him. You know, and if you're not aware of who Colin Trevorrow is, he directed Jurassic World and some other movies. I think I'm a fan of his work. I think he's a pretty good director. But he had, you know, he was you could tell he's a fan of Star Wars, and he wanted to do things with Luke. Him and Mark Hamill had discussed things, and Mark Hamill really liked a lot of the things that he was proposing. But literally, I heard that Kathleen Kennedy, she disagreed with a lot of the things he wanted to do. They basically wanted to kill off all of the old trilogy characters and introduce, and you know, Rey, Finn, and you know, Oscar Isaac's character. They wanted to introduce all of them, and they were like, nope, we got to get rid of you know, Luke. Like, we got to kill him off. And I think he's come out saying that maybe that's one of the reasons why he was fired from the movie, is because of that they didn't have. He wanted, you know, he had plans with Luke moving forward, but the studio and Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, they did not want that. They were like, nope, we're killing him off. We're going with this iteration of the character. And it's sad because you see Mark Hamill, you know, here's somebody, he's played the character, and I mean, he understands him better than anybody ever will. You know, him and George Lucas, you know, they understand him. They understand the character of Luke. And you can see in the interviews, you can see in the all the videos online of him talking about The Last Jedi, just how much it hurt him and how much he disagreed with the way the character was written, with the decisions Rian Johnson made, and it's just so disappointing.
Yeah, and like there was even an interview for when after the news of George Lucas selling Star Wars to Disney, Kathleen Kennedy said in that interview that they're not gonna like just throw away the main, like the original cast, or like, you know, throw them away or really kill them off or anything like that. Well, she didn't say kill them off, but she said they're not gonna be replaced or just like thrown away. That's exactly what they did. Like, I understand with Han Solo, because Harrison Ford, he never liked playing Han Solo, and he doesn't care about the character. So it made sense to kill him off, because that's what he wanted, and you can't, like, if that's like what the actor wants to do and he's the original Han Solo, you can't really just replace him. So that made sense. Killing off Luke was just...
And, you know, like, as Star Wars fans, you know, it's been over 30 years since we saw these icons on the screen. You know, we're so excited to see Luke, Leia, Han, and I think they just disrespected them so bad. Like, for example, in The Force Awakens, similar to Luke's story, I mean, everything that he did in the original trilogy, everything that, you know, like Han's character arc, I think is really good, because, you know, he goes from being someone who doesn't really care, who only cares about himself and whatnot, helping Luke out and everything, and fighting for a good cause, and even falling in love with Leia, right? You're telling me that he just left and became a gambler, and now we're back to step one? I mean, it's just, he walked out on his family. I mean, it's like they wrote the character just to fit the current story. Like, realistically, I can't see him going back to that person he was. I mean, it just makes the original trilogy just
obsolete.
And they did the same thing with Luke, like you said. Everything he accomplished in the original trilogy, I mean, you know, everything that we saw in the Legends and the canon, non-canon stuff that is now called Legends, everything we saw in it, I mean, I guess it amounted to nothing because he went to a fucking island and started fucking jerking off sea cows and shit. That's one thing. That's another thing here. That's another thing that I didn't like about the movie was they try to make it too much like. I saw a lot of Marvel humor in it. I don't think that fits a Star Wars movie.
Ever since that movie, my interest in Star Wars has gone downhill immensely.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do in Episode 9 now? What can you do if they already killed off Snoke? Kylo and Rey already went their separate ways. She beat his ass in the first film. I mean, what? I mean, she's gonna. I mean, what can you really do with Episode 9?
Yeah, like she's gonna win. It's like whatever, but I don't know. Like now, like me and Anthony, we both haven't seen Solo. We're not really interested in watching Episode 9. We're probably just gonna see how it ends, but I don't know. Now, like Star Wars is just. It's sad that the community is so distraught, and they even made a boycott to even watch Solo because they just don't care about the fans or anything.
Yeah.
Because it's either like now it used to be before it was people were very like too extreme hating on it or too extreme liking it, but when The Last Jedi came out, it really showed like the extremists of fans also, but it also showed like genuine people who cared about it. Like even just normal moviegoers were like, there's something wrong about this movie. Like it's how world class bullshitters and even Jeremy Jans, he said that yes, you can have political views in a movie to like to tell people. It's pretty much to persuade others to like show a certain different perspective of how they view things. But this was a movie for people who already agreed with those views. It wasn't trying to persuade anyone. It was just pretty much like, oh, let's try to put our own thoughts, views in like politics or whatever in this franchise because it's very well known, very popular, just to like make money and have people change the way they think. But they did it in the wrong way possible.
I have no problem whatsoever with putting political views and whatnot in the movie because like some people, they say that they like to go when they go to the movies. They don't like that. They want to like have fun. They want to go to a fantasy world. Me, I actually like seeing glimpses of our real reality in movies. I like seeing I like seeing it expressed in films, and I have no problem with that if it's written well into the story. However, it starts becoming a problem when, as you can see in The Last Jedi, when it starts overtaking the story and it's like they're shoving it in your face every 5 minutes. The casino scene where they literally took away from they literally did like a left turn and they took a left turn from the narrative to go to a planet, talk about, and it was just it just wasn't written well, so it was like so slapped in your face, and then it just goes back to the original story. I'm just like, so you took away 40 minutes from a film just to prove a political point, to shove something in your face, and it's just like, this doesn't add anything to the story. Like it's so noticeable, it's so forced, it's just it's so terrible, and it's just not. That's not the kind of, like I said, I don't mind political statements and whatever if it's written well into a story, but when it overtakes the plot and the narrative, it's just like it did in The Last Jedi. It's just a mess. It's a clusterfuck,
It was just too much, but you want to say anything else before we end this?
Yeah, let's talk about one of the things is that, look, whenever a studio makes a movie that's not liked by fans or whatever, or it's divisive, they can either come out and say, no, we're gonna keep making our movie or movies or whatever, or they can like we're gonna keep making our movies the way we want to make them, or they're gonna be like, okay, we understand that it's very divisive, but we're gonna keep making movies for the fans who do like them. However, when you have a studio along with writers and damn shills and stuff like that want to put blames on the fans for a movie being bad
and insult them,
label them as women haters, as sexist, racist. It's like, okay, there's seriously, whoever's in charge of these films, there's something wrong with you guys, because I don't think I've ever seen and then when you have a director outright coming out and doing stuff like that, I just think it's bad, because look, what the DC films, with the DCU, they're very divisive, not everyone likes them, but they never come out and shed on the fans and say that they're wrong for not liking them. Along with you know, it's not everyone agrees with Zack Snyder's vision, you know, of the DC characters and whatnot, but he never, you know, he gets a lot of shit for it, but he never comes out and says, you guys are wrong, or this and that, you know, like, he has never come out and said anything like that. Rian Johnson, on the other hand, this guy, he literally said that people who don't like The Last Jedi are 30-year-old men who live in their basement with their moms, and he called them, what, man babies or some shit?
Yeah, and, like, also they were like, oh, if you don't like The Last Jedi, then you hate women. It's just, like, it's fucking ridiculous how, like, with Star Wars, like, I know, like, the fans they get pretty crazy and obsessed with this sort of things. They are kind of, like, to blame for a lot of things that happen, but you honestly, that's the last thing you're supposed to do is insult the people that are going to watch your film. It doesn't make sense. Like, just, yeah, if you mess up, you can accept it, be like, yeah, you know, sorry. Like, you don't have to even apologize. You can just be like, you know, I understand that you guys don't like the movie. We're still gonna keep going in this direction. If you don't like it, then, you know, we understand if you don't want to watch it. But, you know, I wish you guys could keep, like, supporting us and what we're trying to do with the franchise. Like, anything like that. Just don't be like, oh, you know, if you don't like it, if you don't understand the story, you're not fucking intelligent or whatever. It's just
really messed up. There's been so many articles that have come out defending The Last Jedi, and J.J. Abrams himself, which just really shocked me, because like I said, you know, I'm a fan of his work. I liked, it's just really disappointing, because I'm a fan of his work, what he did with The Force Awakens and with the Star Trek, you know, and all that. And it just really, I was really disappointed when I heard that he said people who don't like the new, who don't like The Last Jedi are, they're afraid of women. And I was like, really?
Yeah, really? So it's so dumb. It's just Disney, like, making them, like, the contract, like, oh, you can't say anything bad about this, whatever, because, you know, Disney controls everything. You know, I'm using the same meme that I used last episode, so put that shit right there with fucking Mickey Mouse. Yeah, you know, this is all our opinion, and a lot of people online's opinion, because, you know, yeah, but if you like The Last Jedi, you have problems. You can, if you find a nice therapist, you can.
You're crazy, but, you know, I think people, you know, they can like what they like, you know,
yeah,
but.
You know, people have shit taste, but it's their taste.
This dude. You know, if you like The Last Jedi, I have nothing against you, but the moment that you start telling me that I'm wrong for not liking it, that's whenever it becomes a problem. It's like, okay.
But you can go ahead and like it.
Yeah, like, you can like what you want, you know, we respect that, but when it comes to, like, you know, the studio themselves are shitting in our faces and spitting on us and saying, you don't like it because of this, or we don't make movies for you, or you're this and you're that, then okay, yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen Solo yet. One of my friends here in town, he has free movie tickets, so we were saying that we're gonna go see it, so in case it's shitty, we don't spend any money on it. Yeah. So we might check it out, but honestly, right after The Last Jedi, I really have no expectations whatsoever for this trilogy. I'm ready for it to just get over with. I'm ready for Kathleen Kennedy to. I hope and I pray that someone better can take control of it. You know, maybe they can bring George Lucas back and make him, you know, just have him have a word in production and whatnot. So, you know, but I don't know. There has to, for me to be more invested and intrigued in the movies, they really need to do something new or get some new people, because after The Last Jedi, I really don't care about Episode 9. I don't even know if I'm gonna go see it, and that's for me and Kevin.
It's very heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. It's disappointing for us because, you know, we've been fans for a very long time, and any time there comes a Marvel or a DC film or a Star Wars film, we're there. We're gonna watch it, or eventually we're gonna watch it. But with the Episode 9, literally, there's not a bone in my body that is excited to see it. I don't care where the story goes. I mean, it just. Rian Johnson, he just really fucked it up, man. He really destroyed it, as did the studio, and I mean, I don't know. How do you feel, Kevin? Are you excited for it? Do you care anymore?
No. I do not care whatsoever. Fuck that. But yeah, you know, we're gonna end it here, guys. But, you know, comment down below, like the video, share with your friends. You know, put down some constructive criticism. Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? You know, just share your opinions, you know, just share your opinions with us.
Yeah, share your opinions with us, guys. If there's anything we overlooked, or, you know, you want to tell us to fuck off, go ahead, you know, just let us know in the comments, you know, we appreciate it.
Yeah, if you want us to fuck off, we'll say it right back at you. Alright. I love how we're saying this to, like, fucking, like, what, 5 people?
Kathleen Kennedy's gonna come in our comments and talk shit to us, but
like Disney's gonna like message me on YouTube, be like, delete this.
JJ Abrams is gonna flag our video.
All right, well, that's it for today, guys. See you next episode. I don't know when, but whenever I feel like editing it. All right.
Whenever we have time, we'll find some more things to discuss about. All right, guys. Well, it was good talking to you guys today. It's always a joy when I get to discuss things like this with my best friend Kevin, and we'll let you guys go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
See you next time.